Welcome to the Outdoor Movie Show. I'm your host, Paul the Outdoor Movie Guy. If you love outdoor movies or are looking to host an event, well, you've come to the right place. This is our pilot episode. And in this episode, we will talk about our top 5 movies. We'll interview FunFlicks Outdoor Movie Founder, Todd Severn. We'll discuss our latest blog article, which is LED versus projection, and we'll answer your most common questions about hosting an outdoor movie night. But first, let's meet our co-hosts.
Hi, my name is Carson, and I work at IT for FunFlicks Outdoor Movies, and I'm just a big movie nerd.
Hey, I'm Matthew, or as everybody knows me, Matt. I'm one of the owners of FunFlicks.
Hi, I'm Ralis. I work with Matthew in Southern California.
Hi, I'm Todd, founder of FunFlicks.
And now, our top 5 movies.
It's like the top one on my list. I don't know, maybe I'll let you guys try to guess it. The top one on my list, I'm a nostalgic kind of guy, but it was themed. The reason we came up was a theme, and it was for Bo, his 3rd birthday party. And we were racking our heads. What movie do we play? What movie do we play? He loved playing cars. So since he loved playing cars, we're like, we got to have a car movie. And this is back in 1999. Disney Cars wasn't out yet. So it was like, what do you play? What would be entertaining for everybody? That's why it's one of our favorites, because it was one of my favorites as a kid too. Like, one of the first times I went to a movie theater was to see this movie as a kid. And I was 3 years old at that time. And it's like the first movie experience I even remember was Herbie, Love Bug, the original Herbie. And I don't know. And then to play that for Bo's birthday.
Yeah.
And officially, this wasn't even FunFlicks yet. This is pre-FunFlicks. This
Oh
was
my gosh.
prior. This was the movie that basically started the concept to get us rolling, to say we should do this as a business. So you see how it's starting to add on?
Yeah.
Does it mean something to me? It's the film itself. Just the film itself was entertaining, magical, innocent, heartwarming, fun. It had everything. So it carries much more meaning than just the movie. It's really what started FunFlicks. It's what motivated me to say, shit, this is cool. You guys know the story because it was on the website originally, but it was Bo's 3rd birthday party. We played it in the backyard. I put a piece of sheetrock up on the barn. We invited everybody to come. It was a surprise movie night, so nobody knew what film was going to be played. Everybody just really got into it. And since it was such a hit, even Bo, it reflects upon him as well. And when he was 3 years old, watched this movie on August 4th for his birthday. And every day for the next 30 days, he had to watch the movie in some part every day for 30 days, seriously. So it was like, yeah, it struck a good chord.
Is that the Herbie movie in San Francisco?
No, yes, actually, you're right. Yep. I don't even know the true actors' names. I guess I could look it up real quick. I know Buddy Hackett was in it. I think it was
I used to watch that with my mom.
Yeah.
The Herbie films, anytime we had, growing up in England, we had 4 channels. We were crazy. We had 4 TV channels. And anytime there was like a Herbie movie, we would watch it. Maybe that's where the love for VWs comes from.
Exactly. And Paul's got one. You're a nostalgic kind of guy too. See that? But that's my favorite. And would I recommend it to people nowadays? Yes, by all means. But it comes back to the theme thing. If somebody wants to do a Cars movie, you got the movie Cars. But like when Lindsay Lohan remade Herbie, when it was remade, at that time, I was suggesting everyone, don't watch Herbie with Lindsay. Everyone's watched it. So what? Go back to the original.
Herbie Fully Loaded was the Lindsay Lohan one.
Right.
Yeah,
Herbie the Love Bug's not the best movie in the world, no, but the imagery, the magicness to it.
What is number 2 for you?
Oh, now you're going to pick on me.
I am. Yeah. I'm interested.
I'm interested to know if anybody overlaps me. But let's see hands. Who has like a list of 5 of them out of all of us?
My top 5 changes. I have a current top 5.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It kind of changes, depends on if I'm watching something with family or if I'm watching something on my own.
But I always think, I don't know, when I think about picking movies, I'm always thinking of the customer again. What's a good movie for a customer? So even though I have other favorite movies, they're not appropriate for like Pulp Fiction, for goodness sakes, with a fun film.
Yeah.
But we can never recommend that for a movie night. I don't know. So I always try to think, what will entertain adults and the kids. I've got another one, but I want to hear somebody else share one. I don't want to do all the talking.
Oh, there's easy ones out there, right? Like Back to the Future. It's like that's always in my
great film.
top 5. That's always an amazing film.
And where was that film? What state?
Back to the Future in California. That was like the Twin Valley malls. What mall was that
Was it?
originally? Montebello Mall or Montclair Mall down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a buddy who has the Toyota, the pickup, and he has it all set up like Back to the Future. It's really cool. He has a hoverboard in it and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've got a friend named Doc. He's a retired police officer, and he actually has one of the star cars. He's part of the star car community, and he has the DeLorean. He drives around with the Batmobile and the Jurassic Park SUV and the Turtle Van. So they do the Halloween, or not the Halloween, the Hollywood Christmas carnivals and or parades and stuff. So they're always out there doing fun stuff, and they do toy deliveries that time of year as well for Children's Hospital and stuff. A lot of cool guys. But yeah, we should do something with Back to the Future and have Doc show up.
Oh my gosh. How did you meet that guy? That's so cool.
That's through friends of friends. And I've worked with a buddy of mine, Jason, on Power Rangers for many years. And he was friends with Doc just through the whole Star Card community. So yeah, they're always doing like conventions together and having a blast. Yeah. I used to work in the entertainment industry, so I've still got a couple of friends running around in there. So it's always good to hook up.
And again, like that, I thought it was like in Missouri or something for what, like the clock tower. Where's the clock tower?
Oh, that was on Universal Backlot.
Was it really? So it wasn't even a real.
Yeah, no. So they
Okay.
had, as growing up as a kid, my parents, they didn't go to Disneyland a lot, but the one place I wanted to always go was Universal Studios. You know, I just love movies. So my parents would take me to Universal Studios, and I was always allowed to take like one of my best friends with me. And we would go and ride the Universal tram. And they always had the clock tower, that whole little park area, and they had under the cars there and stuff. So I just always loved that movie and going to Universals. Yeah, it was a blast, just the whole movie magic and everything behind it. But yeah, and I was all backlot to Hollywood for the most part, and some scenes around Southern California. I don't know if they ever, we can check the IMDb. I don't know if they ever filmed outside of the state. Maybe the second one was like parts of Arizona, maybe. I don't know.
That is cool.
Again, it makes me think, and we know the theme, we know the plot, everything. But for someone to do that movie, what would be a reasoning to play that movie? Of a Park and Rec, why would they pick back to
You've got a lot of people that age when they were kids when that movie was out, and now they have children. And with one of my favorite movies, I wanted my kids to see that movie on a big screen, not on a little screen or on a
Right.
small TV. So they get a chance to do that. And there's a huge fan base for Back to the Future. That's one of the most popular. Every time that plays, that always gets people out. It's really cool. So I think that there's a lot of nostalgia with it.
Right. So that's not that I've ever played this. Everybody's always talked about it, but like Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Oh yeah,
I've
you've
never-
done that.
I've never experienced one. I
Oh
always-
my gosh.
So I guess it would be similar. You got to
Yeah.
follow for Back to the Future.
Yeah, there's a huge following for that. Yeah, that's a cool one, Matt. I like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen it on my TV, but not.
Oh no. Really?
Full
I'm
Blowing up in the back.
I'm gonna be really boring, and people who know me will be like, "Yeah, of course, that's what you're gonna say." But I'm gonna go with Star Wars.
It's not boring. What are you, crazy?
But that, if you know me, that's no imagination. I just love that movie. It was one of the first movies I ever saw in a movie theater.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that was the movie that when my son was getting to that age where he was old enough to appreciate, the first time he wanted to watch it, I wanted him to see it on a big screen. And of course, you couldn't see it anywhere at that point. So I borrowed a projector from work where I was working at the time, hung up a bed sheet, and we watched Star Wars on a big screen. And that's how it started.
That's cool.
It's when you watch it compared to a modern movie, that modern movies are just like action. And sometimes it feels like there's no break for story.
Right.
And I feel like the pacing of some of the slightly older movies is just amazing. And that movie changed filmmaking.
Yeah.
It really did. And the special effects, do they hold up now? Not quite, but they still look really good.
No, they're cool.
And you lose yourself in the story.
Yeah. And the soundtrack
Right.
is phenomenal. So I know first year FunFlicks again. I like to always go back to the beginning.
Right.
Star Wars. That was the first time I tried rear speakers to get full surround sound. It was for Boy Scouts troop And I was determined, I'm going to run these XLR cables behind the crowd to put up the Mackie speakers behind the crowd to get the full surround. And I think it was the 1501 Mackie subwoofer underneath the black drape in the front. So I had the speakers up front, left, right, center, a big ass subwoofer, and then the rear speakers going. Crank that soundtrack up. The velour drape floating when the bass hit. But I had to do it for Star Wars just because I knew that the sound effects was key to engulf that crowd. And it worked. That was my first year as FunFlicks.
That's
cool.
awesome.
I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to one up with you guys on Star Wars for one of my favorites. I think a movie that you can't forget about when you mention sci-fi is 2001 Space Odyssey. That actually had inspired Star Wars, and I love Stanley Kubrick. I don't think a lot of his movies would be appropriate for an outdoor movie night. But The Shining, that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Full Metal Jacket. Those are great ones, not great for families to go and see.
All right.
But
I have a Shining story. We were at a local university and they'd got them booked 2 movie nights on the same night. And one of them was just after Guardians of the Galaxy became available. So one field we had Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the other field we had The Shining. Guardians of the Galaxy had 400 people there, and it was packed, and there was a ton of people. The Shining, nobody showed up, and my event host started the movie, watched the movie until about halfway through, and then somebody crept up on him and tapped him on the shoulder. And it was the most scary thing in my whole life. And then he sat down and watched the rest of the movie with him.
Wow.
That's appropriate.
Yeah,
I'm
that would be
actually
scary.
I'm reading the book right now, and I gotta say the movie's scary, but the book is 10 times scarier.
The Shining book, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like with reading, especially just horror books in general, like your imagination could be even more powerful than what a film could portray sometimes. So I've had some nightmares.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
But again, we can't play it. That's the bummer. Unless somebody.
Yeah.
But you could find the right crowd. I know a horror host and he does all movies like that. And you've just got to realize that was not going to be the family friendly movie. That's going to be a different type of movie night completely.
Right.
Halloween time. We did The Shining at there's a hotel not too far from me where we did The Shining up there, and supposedly it's a haunted hotel. So guests go up there and they have an experience of The Shining and getting creeped out with a fancy dinner and all that stuff. Yeah, you could totally do a theme around it, but it's definitely going to be more adult.
Yeah. Which is okay.
Hey, Ralis, do you have a favorite movie for the?
I do. They're kind of cycling through, and I'm trying to pick the top one. I think if I have to choose one, I'm probably going to go with Up. Because I remember the first time watching that in theaters and just like bawling my eyes out in the first 10 minutes.
Yes. No,
They do a really good job with just the soundtrack and exploring his life before he meets the kid.
Yeah. And the animation, phenomenal. The colors.
Yeah.
I like the dog.
The dog too. I was just going to say that. Yeah. Doug. He's awesome.
Everyone loves a talking dog.
Squirrel. Classic line.
Yeah.
Use it all the time with my kids now and everything else.
The beginning of that movie is amazing. There's no words, just music, right? That's
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. That's a good one. Out of all the animated ones, that's one of the ones I'll sit down and watch and cry every time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that one, if I'm remembering correctly, that one starts off pretty sad too. It gets into the whole backstory with his wife passing away. And yeah, that's a sad one, but that one, it's a good one.
And that was Pixar, right? Not Disney or Disney Pixar.
that's
I think that was in the Disney Pixar era, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a movie theater and completely lost it because of a movie, apart from
like crying, tears, crying.
yeah, tears, crying?
Yeah. I always have to
Yeah.
hug because there's
Oh my
somebody
goodness.
next to me.
Titanic.
I'm a big sad. I'll cry at anything, but
Yeah.
I did that. It was, oh my gosh. I watched E.T. with my mum when I was real small. I was with my aunts and everyone. We went into the movie theater. We watched E.T. We came out, and I don't know. I'm really small. It was when it was out in the movie theater, and I'm not young anymore. And I'm just crying, and then I'm following somebody, and I follow them, and I think it's my aunt, but it's not my aunt. And I walk into the ladies' bathroom, and she turns around. I'm like,
Wow.
I go running out, and my mum's like, "Where'd you go?"
An interview with Todd Severn, who is the FunFlicks founder.
We're here with Todd Severn, who is the founder of FunFlicks Outdoor Movies. So what made you decide to get into outdoor movies? Tell us the history. Let's start from the beginning. What made you want to do this as a business? What got you into it?
I could go back even further. I could plant the seed and source.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh no. So realize this wasn't my idea to do. That's what's funny too. I was like, what, in my mid-20s? I lived in Fells Point, Maryland, which is pretty much walking distance to Little Italy of downtown Baltimore. And Little Italy is like a cool, just like it is in any city, I guess. But it's a small neighborhood comprised of historic townhomes, you know, many of Baltimore's finest restaurants, Italian restaurants. My girlfriend was Italian. We would venture over to Little Italy on Friday nights because they did their Friday night films. Most Fridays through the summer, the community would gather in a parking lot of a restaurant and they'd watch a typically Italian themed movie on the side of the building. Like there was an old lady that would be on her second story of her house. She opened her bedroom window, would allow the projectionist to shine the projector out.
That's so cool.
It was way cool. And she did it for free. It's not like, you know what I mean? It was like the neighborhood getting together to do it. But it shot across the crowd and onto the side of a restaurant wall. People would gather from all around Baltimore. And you can see from my back shot, that is Little Italy. That's the crowd that would be there. And that was a typical viewing of what you would see on the side of the building. So when I say I was in my mid-20s, this is way prior to FunFlicks even starting, but it's where the seed was planted, the outdoor movie seed. So I did go on to marry my Italian lover. We moved out to the country with grass and trees, planted more seeds. Our kids, 3 kiddos, the wife, the vet, were out in the country and I worked from home. This was like 1996 at the time, I guess, when it was not cool to work from home. Nobody did it. I had spare time more than the normal 9-to-5 worker bee. I always had a passion to do something on my own. I used to run a ski business prior to that, and that's what I did. From working at home, I sold ski vacations. People would think I was in Colorado, you know, a house with a fireplace, booking their ski trips. I was in county in Baltimore, but whatever. I don't know where to go from there, but I had previously sold the ski business and I was working for those buyers part-time, pulling in a measly 30 grand a year, selling ski trips from my home. And with summers off, and I had that entrepreneurial passion to get involved in something to support my young family, I was always trying to create ways to make another nickel. I would buy pallets of table saws, sell them on eBay, baby pools, sell them on eBay. I was doing that kind of goofy stuff in the beginning, but I guess the whole concept came to fruition when Bo was turning 3. And we're like, we want to do a party, you know, for Bo and his friends. Yvette was thinking, invite friends over for dinner. She actually came up with the concept to say, well, you know, let's do dinner and a movie, kind of like what we used to do in Fells Point. And I was like, brilliant. What a great concept. That's where the real seed was planted for FunFlicks, because we did that party for him. Maybe 20 families came. I ended up screwing a piece of sheetrock on the side of our barn. I took our sound system, my stereo system from inside the house, outside. I had a buddy named Joe who worked at Advanced Business Systems who could get me a projector, borrowed a projector, and did this movie outside on the side of the barn. And what was kind of neat was we did invitations. So of course, back then, as you would email people invitations or mail them in the mail, we mailed out invitations. There was a movie ticket to come to a surprise movie night. So nobody knew what the movie was that was going to play. So the guests would show, they turn in their movie ticket to enter the backyard. That movie ticket was actually a door to win the meal of the night, which was eggplant parmesan. Whoever got drawn in the middle of the movie got to take home a pot of eggplant parmesan. Kind of funny. But that's how it originated, because when we did that movie night, I guess the hardest part was picking the movie. It's always the hardest part, is what film do you play for a 3-year-old and a bunch of families that want to come. Well, we chose The Love Bug, you know, Herbie, because Bo loved cars. He loved playing with cars, and we thought that would be a hit. I loved it when I was a kid. And sure enough, everybody else that came and watched the movie, they said that was so enlightening. It was so magical. It was so cool. This is a great concept for a party. And it got my head scratching. 30 days of Bo having to watch the same movie every day on VCR and people still complimenting how fun of a party it was. I was like, I don't know, this could be a fun little party business. So like a month later, I put an ad in the paper, gave it the name FunFlicks. I created a little 1 inch by 1 inch ad, put it in my local kids publication. The phone started ringing. I started taking reservations. I didn't own one piece of equipment. And that's when the research started. What do I use? I didn't know what to appropriately use for a sound system. I couldn't take my home stereo. That would just be too rinky dink. So I had plenty of time. Basically, Bo's party was in August. I had pretty much all winter to contemplate and think this through. Started researching equipment, found what I thought would be appropriate, and had it FedExed and delivered for my first event in May. It was set up on the customer's lawn for the very first time, me not even knowing what kind of caliber, quality, anything that I had to go with. But it was a success again. I entertained over 200 people with that first event, and they thought it was awesome. And that's basically how it started. That's the start, all the way back.
So what
It's
year
like,
was
oh,
that, Todd?
cool. So that would have been seriously in 94 is when I met Yvette. 94, 95. I had Bo in 99. So in 2001 was the official first year of FunFlicks. So 2001 would have been the date.
And then how did you go from, I'm sure you started small and you were doing all of the events yourself. When did you realize that this is really taking off? People are really wanting to do that. I need to get more, I need to get staff and the whole thing.
Every single party on the way home, every event I did that first year, the excitement in people's eyes, the adrenaline rush I had at the end of the event, because the best theme song is always playing at the very end. And it's like, it's always an upbeat at the end of the movie. And everybody comes to you and says, wow, this is such a cool thing. It's such a cool concept to be outside under the stars, watching a flick like this. And the drive home, I'd have 30 minutes to an hour drive home. It's midnight, 1 a.m. And I was just like, this is so much bigger than me. I'd search the internet for other people that did the same exact thing that I did. And nobody, across the nation, there was nobody doing it. Yes, there was Outdoor Movies in Rockville, Bob Deutsch, but he was big time. He did $3,000 events and up, and for corporations, using a $15,000 movie screen made out of Germany. It's like wasn't even in the realm of what I was doing. I was doing $200 backyard parties. When I would do these events and drive home, every single event, people were so complimentary of what the event was. It just made me know it was bigger than me, and nobody else did it. I was like, I got to do something with this. So like that first year, I made like 15 grand doing backyard parties. It was just me. I would be the one to go out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights and set up and do my thing, take bookings during the week or whatever. Second year, easily doubled my business. I started hiring guys local to me, I had to purchase and get another set of equipment for them. They'd go out and do it. And then sure enough, the year after that, I'm taking on 2 to 3 more guys, and it just evolved. Started in Maryland, grew it to Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia. And then it was just like, this is too big. I'm too busy. And that's where I was getting people say, you need to franchise it. You need to do this. You need to do that. I'm like, you're right. I know, because still nobody in the 2-3 years was doing it. So I paid a good chunk of change, probably over 50 grand to hook up with a franchise company out of Chicago. Flew to Chicago with multiple people, multiple times to lay out all the legal and all the legwork. And I remember doing events sitting in the back of my van, typing my operations manual. So I no longer mingled with the crowd. I was now hunkering down every movie night, typing away. But we franchised it for 1 year. All the legalness that went behind it was crazy. And I guess this is stuff that I don't know what everybody knows, or if they do know, I haven't repeated it for a while. But franchising was so darn expensive and so confining, because the government and anyone buying a franchise, I feel like you're extremely protected, which is a great thing. But for the franchisor, trying to put a program together, it was nearly impossible because, like even a bank account, they want proof to have the bank account, which I had proof of business in Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, whatever, but it wasn't good enough for nationwide. I did get franchising. I tried to sell it for the first year and it was 30 grand again. And I never believed that was the right avenue anyhow, because 30 grand to get in this business, it's stupid. They could do it themselves. They really could. I really wanted to be the support mechanism to help people do it, or just to grow it across the nation on my own, which would have been insane anyhow. But long story short, after a year of selling franchises, nobody signed up. I asked my attorney, what can I do as an alternative? It's like, I spent all this money, over 100 grand easy, trying to bring a package together. And he's like, license it. Well, what's a license? Let them use your name. Let them use your website. I said, why didn't you tell me that from the beginning? It's like, so month one of licensing, we got Lisa Mealy calls me out of Los Angeles. And Lisa's like, Todd, this is a great concept. I saw you a year ago when you were franchised. I started dilly-dallying with my own here. Now you're doing a license. I want to join with you. I'm like, Lisa, beautiful. That's what I need. Somebody in California. Perfect. And she ended up flying out with the person out of Texas. They were first licensees on board, Lisa truly being the first. And she's still with us today. Well, as of a month ago, Lisa, she handed the business over to her brother, Nick.
He's great.
Who now runs it.
Yeah, I like that.
He's awesome.
He's a wonderful guy.
So in the family, which is a beautiful thing. And that's the way it is with most licensees. Most people are still on board. I forget what your question was. What made me think to take it national?
Yeah.
Nobody else did it. And it was an inexpensive business model. And it's part-time, for goodness sakes. You can do it in the summer and you're off in the winter. It's a lot of work in the summer. Don't get me wrong. We all know that. But that's all.
Last question on the FunFlicks thing. How many licensees did you have by the time you decided to move on?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I can't remember. 35?
Wow.
35 total people.
Yeah.
34 or 35 that, some had multiple locations. Now we've whittled down to 20 something, 28 or so. Not that that's a bad thing. They've taken over other people's territories, which is less people to deal with, I guess. Yeah, but it was 100 and some locations, 110 locations.
Wow. So it's completely nationwide. It's pretty amazing. If you want to get an event done, somebody at FunFlicks can probably help you with that.
Exactly.
That's really cool. All right. So let's go into some fun and not so fun questions. What is the favorite event you ever did and why?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So this is a good one because it's a good story. It's going to be the Visionary Art Museum in downtown Baltimore. And when I say the favorite, because it was my biggest, largest first account I ever got. And what kind of made it my favorite when I realized this is going to be huge was when Debbie Katrinik was her name. And she's probably still there. Because Visionary Art Museum still to this day does FunFlicks movie events. But Debbie calls me asking about, hey, can you do this for a Visionary Art Museum in downtown Baltimore? I'm like, it's a beautiful complex right at the Inner Harbor. It's all venue. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this event. She's like, we've been doing it for years. We company out of Rockville. It was Outdoor Movies, Bob Deutsch. And, nothing's wrong. It's just, he sets his truck up at the top of the Federal Hill, shines across the crowd onto our 40-foot screen that hangs on the side of our building. And I was like, whoa, I'd love to be part of that. And she's like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, well, I bring a projector and I'm going to be down in the front shining on your screen. She's like, that'll never work. I'm like, Deb, it'll work. I know it'll work. And she's like, in the sound system? I'm like, it's 3 speakers, basically, amplified speakers. She didn't believe it would work, nor did she believe I could do it for $500 when Bob is charging over $3 grand. And I was like, Deb, let me come down one night, any Tuesday night, whatever. Let me set it up in your little parking lot there, shine it on your screen, and you tell me if it's good enough quality compared to my competition. And if it's good enough, you can pay me for doing an event. So it'll be $800 as opposed to $500 because I had to take the time and go down and set up and do it. So sure enough, she says, sure. And if You don't like the quality? I'll eat it. No worries. I don't care. I went down, I set up the Sanyo XP, whatever projector it was, set up my sound system, shined it on the screen. Instantly, her jaw dropped. She was like, oh my God. She actually said the sound quality was better than what she's been getting from the other company. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then she said, and the projection's dynamite, upon which I put another projector on top of that projector just to show her it's a little teeny thing, little thing, because the big one was only like 2000 lumens. This new one was like 3,500 lumen. Think about it. It's like, that's nothing in today's scope of it. You know what I mean? I put the 3,500 lumen projector up on there and it shined her 40-foot screen up like a light bulb, beautiful image. And she was like, and your quality image, we got to have that projector. That projector is better than what the other guy's been bringing. I'm like, cool, sold. She signed me up for 8 events for that summer. Every one of them went off without a hitch, successful. And Bob Deutsch, to this day, I remember talking to him prior. He was pissed at me. He was pissed at Debbie, saying that he can't do that for that price. It's impossible. She told me this. So why is it my favorite event? Because it was my first real competition that I stole an event from. It was a big event and it still goes on to this day. And the movies they play are phenomenal. It's always something with character. It's not the everyday boring film. I want to say King Kong might have been one of the first ones we played.
Oh, some classics then.
Yeah, some classic, good, cool, but long story.
That's good.
So do you have any like nightmare events that you want to share?
Customer related oriented. I don't think I have any where my equipment went up. I might have lost a speaker in an event, but for goodness sakes, I got 3 of them. I got a spare one in the truck. Yeah, you just swap out a speaker. It's no big deal. I had a girl working for me at the time. The movie's playing, everything's set up, everything's wonderful. But she decided to leave and go get dinner while the movie's playing. So she left the venue. And unfortunately, she leaves the venue. It's a backyard birthday party. One of the kids accidentally unplugged the electric and everything went down. Well, sure enough, this woman is like, oh my gosh, my party's ruined. Where's the host? She calls me. I'm at home. She's frantic, upset. I'm just like, I don't know what to say. She's going to come back. She's got to come back. It might have been 15 minutes later. She came back, plugged it in, got the movie going. Everything's fine. But of course, how customers can get very demanding. She calls me the next day. I call her back, leave a message. She calls me back, phone tag. 3 days goes by. We're playing phone tag. I'm not avoiding her. Now she's livid because she hasn't been able to vent on me and express her concerns. It might have been Thursday of that next week. We finally talk and she's just pissed. And then she was more pissed saying, I wasn't going to say anything or do anything until you avoided me for 5 days. I'm like, I wasn't avoiding you. I was calling you back. So that went round and around. I told her I'd do a free event for her. It's like, look, this isn't typical. Obviously you want something. I'm not returning your monies because you still had the event. You still had fun. Everybody enjoyed it. I know because one of your friends called and booked a party that was there. So everything was dynamite. I'm going to give you a free event. I'd love to come back and show you that, that's not typical. Our host doesn't leave. We're usually there. Everything should be hunky-dory. And she took me up on that. She's like, fine, next year, I'm going to call you. We'll do it. So it just turned into more of a nightmare is what happened because she calls in February to book her event for April. I get her on the calendar. Sure enough, April comes and it rains. Okay. April showers, bring May flowers, whatever. We'll do the event in May. May comes, it rains. We have to postpone it again. June comes, it rains again. It's the 3rd rain out for this one. But the cool thing is, I was on top of it every time. The 3rd time, it's July now or whatever. The 4th event, it decides it wants to rain. She said, Todd, enough's enough. You've stood by your word, done your due diligence. You've stayed in touch with me. I appreciate everything you've done. I'm not going to hold you to this rain date. I'm just going to cancel. No big deal. You won my trust back. So it was the worst event ever because remember, I booked her friend's party. I had to go to that friend's party and sure enough, she was there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I want to say that's when she confronted me. So it might've been 2 weeks.
Wow. We've already talked about your top 5 movies and you were very gracious, and most of them were related to showing it an outdoor movie. But what's your personal favorite movie? I know you had Herbie. Is that your
No.
top movie?
I like Shawshank Redemption. There's a great story in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've said that before. I think I can't say it's my favorite. It's impossible to pick a favorite. I like action films are great. Yeah, they're entertaining, but I want the one that's got a kick butt story to it.
Like an Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and that's a great story. That
Yeah.
is a great story, and that's exciting. Is it my favorite? No. I'm going to say something a little more serious of a film. I don't know. Ralis, did you watch Big Fish yet?
Let's hear the voice.
Oh,
Ralis.
I have not, no.
Like that's a great film, because it's got meaning to it. It's got a lot more than just the visuals and this sound. I don't know.
So I have a question here, and you may have already answered it, but this business for many of us is really community oriented. What do you feel you've done for your local communities with doing outdoor movies? I mean, you've actually done it across the nation because so many of us have come on and done these community movie nights. Do you think your biggest impact?
Oh gosh, man, you got good hard questions, dude. Just one thing that comes to my mind. You got to think about when we were kids, when we went to the movies. That was the only cool, immersive experience that the whole community, that whole crowd in that theater was involved in. Or like, think about when you went to school on Monday after the Sunday night movie, everyone talked and shared an experience or shared the experience, how they thought it was and all that the next day in school. Taking it outdoors under the stars is just another avenue of that same thing. So the community can get together and experience a film in no other way. It's not the same in a movie theater. I don't know why. It's when you're outdoors, there's something about it. So that's the only thing I can say is I not me alone. I don't want to take any credit for crossing it across the nation. I was just the chosen one. I don't know, because other people started to do it. Not that they copied my idea. They just discovered it, kind of like I did. But just that experience, it's bringing a community together under the stars without a cell phone, except in the beginning of the film, that really lets the kids engulf themselves in a film. And that's what's neat, because again, the sound system sucks them in and the visual on that big screen sucks them in. And they're right on the same blanket with their mom and dad, which is cool. I don't know if that answers your question.
That perfectly answers it. Todd, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share? I know we all appreciate you starting FunFlicks, and many of us have gone from doing this part-time to this is what we do. And,
Which is awesome.
My family appreciate it and everything else. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, not at this time. I'm sure we'll have more interviews like this, though. So stay tuned.
There we go. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions to ask?
No, it's been real informative. I really enjoy the history and learning a little bit myself. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we've all been friends for a long time, and I never heard the Little Italy story before. So that was very cool. All right. Thank you so much. Welcome to Carson's Fun Facts.
All right, you guys ready for some fun facts today? I got some fun facts today.
We're
All
ready.
right, let's get going. So first, there's some big news for all you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans out there. This summer, we got a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, Mutant Mayhem, coming this summer, 2023. Look out for it in theaters. And in regards to some other Ninja Turtle news, and it looks like in 2024, Ninja Turtles 3 is actually going to be having its 40th year anniversary. For all you Turtle Gang fans out there, that's some big news to look forward to.
Why does that make me feel so old? How about Matt?
Yeah. No, I know. It definitely does.
Yeah, and it looks like we also got March 30th, 2023, Beetlejuice. Tim Burton's Beetlejuice is actually going to be celebrating its 35th year anniversary. So if you're looking for a good classic, spooky movie, funny movie, Beetlejuice is going to be having its 35th this spring.
That's so funny that I see that as a Halloween movie, and it was
it's in
released
March.
in March. That's excellent.
Mhm.
All right.
For all you sci-fi fans out there, Star Wars fans in particular, it looks like Star Wars Return of the Jedi will actually be celebrating its 40th anniversary this May. So if you're looking to have a May the 4th Star Wars movie party, maybe choose Return of the Jedi because it's going to be having its big 40th coming this May.
I just want to let you all know that every day is Star Wars Day. It's not just May 4th.
Exactly.
40 years. Oh my gosh. It's crazy.
So if you're looking to watch any of these films, celebrate their anniversaries, contact FunFlicks, and we'd be happy to put on an event for you to watch these great films. It looks like we got a really big one coming on March 11th. This film is going to be crazy old. 42nd Street, the classic, is going to be 90 years old on March 11th.
Wow.
Wow.
You probably don't even have to pay for a license for that one.
True.
It might have expired.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I would check on that with Criterion or to see if you need a license for that one. It looks like another movie, fun fact news, we got The Big Lebowski, the hilarious film, is actually going to be 25 years old on March 6th. And we got the producers will have its 55th year anniversary on March 18th, as well as on March 28th. It looks like Hitchcock's The Birds will be 60 years old. But that's what I got for my fun facts. Thanks,
All right.
thanks for listening to the fun facts.
There's one more. There's one more.
Oh, there's one more. Did I miss something?
52 years since it's been released. It's Wonka.
Oh,
Really?
Wonka.
52? The
Wonka.
original one in the...
They're remaking Wonka in 2023.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, and it's the Oompa Loompas. When's it done filming? I'm trying to look now. December 15th of 2023. So actually, that will be in 2024. Sorry, Carson. You're
That's
right.
good. We're anticipating. I'm excited for 2024 more than ever now.
There you go. Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory.
There we go. All right.
Your Christmas movie.
It's going to be a big push, I'm sure. All right. So shall we... Thank you for your fun facts, Carson.
Anytime.
I do like the 3D glasses. They're pretty cool.
From the FunFlicks blog, LED versus projection.
For the news this week, we're going to look at a new blog article that was just released, just written by Carson, and I did a little video. And as an intro, we're going to play the first minute of that video, and then we'll have a quick discussion. And that is LED versus projection, and what do you need? So I'm going to share my screen. So right here we have two different screens, and you're going to see one of them you have a crystal clear image, and on the other screen you're not really seeing anything. That's because this is an LED screen and is designed for daytime use. So if you have an event that's during the day, maybe a sports event, you're going to need to use, if you're outdoors, you're going to need to use an LED screen. We actually have the same image on both of these screens, and you may not even be able to see it on that. And we are using a 5,000 lumen projector, which is a really, really bright projector. So once again, if it's a daytime event and you're outdoors, LED is the way to go. What other options do you have? Well, if you have an indoor location that you could make dark, maybe a barn or a sports hall or something like that, you can definitely do a projection screen like this or a frame style screen. But again, if you're outdoors, LED really is. There we
the
go.
only
We'll
way to
pause
go.
it right there, and I'll stop my share.
You know what kind of the bummer is? Like looking at the screens on your video, the LED doesn't look what it really looks like. It's way more vibrant, way more colorful in real life. Your video doesn't capture it.
When you've got the sun shooting into the camera lens, that makes it a little harder to bring the colors out. But you've got to remember, this
Right.
is middle of the day. This is super bright. And as you could see, you
Right.
could not see anything
On the regular screen.
on
Yeah,
the
it's like-
regular screen. There was nothing. Occasionally, when there was a high contrast part of the image where it was white and black, you would
You would-
see a couple of things, but you couldn't view it. It really shows you the difference. And with an LED, you still need to, you don't want direct sunlight on it. But if we've all seen that, you don't want direct sunlight on it, but it's completely viewable during the day. And that you see there, it's night and day, the differences between them. So you really, that is the only option. And that's only been around in a portable form factor for not that long, really.
2 years, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you had them, Matt?
What, 4 years?
4 years?
Yeah.
And you were one of the early adapters for doing the LEDs.
Yeah. Tony and my trailer were pretty much the prototypes. Or in Sean's too. There were 3 of them built. And that was 4 years ago now.
And with the screens, the great blog article that Carson did talks about, you've got your LED trailers, you've got your panel screens, and then you've got your projection and that, and they're very different. With the LED screens that you have, what do you think the primary use has been for them?
Oh my gosh. Like we've definitely got into the concert series with them. Tailgating is huge now. Now that we're open to daytime events with the LED, it opens up a whole lot of daytime viewing. Where the Super Bowl, you had issues with sporting events on the West Coast because a lot of them start in the morning and the daytime. And now you have access to doing them all day long. But that doesn't outshine our projectors and our inflatable screens. And we still have that midnight, customer viewing experience where you're watching the evening after twilight and you just have that great crisp image on the screens. It's always a throw up between the two, but definitely for daytime viewing, the LED has opened up a whole new market for us.
So it's all about selecting the correct style screen for your event. So I think there's a romance as well with the projected image. Wouldn't you say, Todd? Like the projected image is just, it's beautiful. It's what movie theaters do and everything else.
But I know these LED screens, you can adjust. I don't know all the technical terminology, but you can adjust the lighting to be what you need it to be. So I'm sure the images are just as good as a projected image at nighttime as well.
Yeah, as technology increases, that's the thing. Is who knows what next year will bring as the pixel density gets tighter and you can get more of that 4K quality image.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference right now is if it's in the day and you're outside, your only choice is LED. But when you come to nighttime viewing, you are going to get a slightly clearer, higher resolution image on a projected image. But that's just where the technology is at this point in time. In this article, Carson, was there anything that just blew you away when you were looking at this, comparing the two?
I think the biggest thing I took away from the article I was writing is there's really a screen. There's a screen for each person, and it depends on your circumstances, like obviously what time you're going to have your event, where you're at. Even if you've decided on an LED screen, we have LED trailers and LED walls, and those are both for, I think, those geared towards different people's needs. And I think that really just, we have screens for everyone. I think that's the biggest thing I took away. And it just really depends on your circumstances. We have amazing product, whatever route you're wanting to go.
I love the flexibility that the LED gives you. Because before we were always looking for, you need to find an indoor location if you want to show the sports game during the day. And now you could do it indoors, you could do it outdoors. And then we have LED versus the trailer versus the walls you build. What do you think the biggest difference, Matt, is between the two of them?
It's just labor and time. You can get a really big image set up with your modulars, but you've got guys up on scaffolding, ladders and everything else. With the LED trailers, the biggest one we have now is the 23-foot, but that's a massive screen, but it's on hydraulics. You can come in and you're setting up in a fraction of the time that it would take a team of 4 or 5 guys to set up a wall. So it's definitely a time factor, which saves you on labor costs.
Yeah.
But of course, with those trailers, you can't get them indoors. There's definitely still a need to build something on a stage. You're still going to have your LED wall built up on the church stage or your theater stage. You're just not going to bring a trailer into some environment like that. But we have taken our mobile trailers into warehouse locations, ran off house power. So the mobile ones are definitely versatile for those aspects.
Just don't use them indoors with the generator set up.
Definitely. Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Would not be
a good
healthy.
idea. So with your trailer, you're setting up in about half an hour. Is that right?
Yeah. And typically we can get everything set up and running in half an hour and ready for testing. And yeah, the screens, they handle pretty well. It's minimal testing when we get there. Every once in a while, you have pixel panel go out. We have spares. We can swap those out within 10 to 15 minutes. So typically you're ready to go within 45 minutes. You're ready to rock and roll.
And then if you look at a projection screen, you're looking at an hour and 15 plus. And then the LED panels, would you say 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on your screen size?
Yeah, that really depends on the screen size. If you're doing something that's ground based, a couple of hours. But once you get into something where you're building a screen that's bigger than a 20-foot wide screen, you're looking at trussing and rigging. You're having a whole nother crew come in to build you a stage, basically. And that's when the productions get huge. But we're definitely up for that. We do quite a bit of those, but we're definitely trying to fill that niche of helping out the schools and the customer base that wants to have the same caliber of event, but for a reasonable price.
So that with the really big LED builds, it could You could be setting up the day before just because of the labor and everything else. If you're looking for maybe like two either side of a stage for a graduation.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely for a couple days. And then you have testing involved. And when you're doing a big production like that, there's typically a half a day or a day of sound check and testing. But yeah, that's definitely those high-end graduations that we've done where I remember doing during the pandemic, we were doing those drive-in graduations and we had set up in one location. We did the day and a half of testing. And then that whole week, it was 5 days of graduations as people were just rolling in. And we had our LEDs set up daytime, nighttime. It was all day long. And people were coming in, they'd exit the car, they'd have their family there, they'd take their photo ops next to the screen and they'd get back in their car and take off. And that was continuously 5 days of graduations. And those screens, they held up and they just rocked it.
That's excellent. I think we covered most of it. There will be a link to the blog article right below in the comments. So definitely check that out. Carson did a great job with that article. And if you do have any questions, you can definitely put them in the comments below or give FunFlicks a call. All right.
We answer your questions. When can I start my outdoor movie?
So we'll reach the part of the show when we get a question, a commonly asked client question. And this week's question, and it may be the most common question we get, is what time can I start my outdoor movie? So we're going to go around and we're just going to briefly talk about the best time to start an outdoor movie. Matt, what do you think? When can you start your outdoor movie?
Any time of day if you use an LED.
There you go.
Right? LED gives you that option any time of day. But if we're talking projector, 15 minutes after dusk, after the sun sets is typically the best time. Sometimes, depending on the area you are, you got mountains, you've got various things that kind of help with that twilight sunset.
Yeah.
But 15 minutes after.
When the sun starts to change, the sky starts to change colors. When you see that, what do they call that? The magic hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you see the light change in the sky. I know we could start a film. And it typically is, I would always say sunset, but right before sunset, you can, especially if you're in a shaded area under a tree, you got a wall kind of blocking the sunlight. So there you go. Then that's for the inflatable projector screen.
Yeah, we always recommend like 10 to 15 minutes after sunset. But again, it is location specific. But when I was doing outdoor movies early on, we would always be trying to cheat daylight, but you can't cheat daylight because the sun is 1,000,000 times plus brighter than your projector and you're just not going to outshine it. So for that best experience, you just got to wait for it to get dark. And you've probably seen this, Matt and Carson and Ralis, that when you've tried to start a movie early, what ends up happening is you get this horrible washed out image on the screen. And then you end up with 20 kids running around who are not engrossed in the movie.
It doesn't suck them in. You want to suck them in.
Gotta wait for the FunFlicks magic hour.
You got to wait for the FunFlicks magic hour. That's right.
And dark. If you can wait that extra 10 minutes.
It makes such a difference. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. So later, the better.
The later, the better. So I actually have, and I'm going to attempt to share again. I have a graphic. Where did I save this graphic to?
Do you feel like you want to entertain the crowd prior? One thing with the inflatable screen itself is entertaining. So if your host doesn't inflate it, it just lays there in the front, have all your sound system, your projection, everything set up. When that screen inflates in front of the kids, the wow factor is over the top. I mean, that's entertainment in itself. I don't know. I feel like if you want to entertain, then you've got a fantastic sound system, 10 minutes of music to play prior. So if you're really trying to entertain and get the kids situated and comfortable and sitting down, and think of music. There you go. 15 minutes before sundown. You can't see. The kids aren't even going to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was in my backyard, and this is a small screen. This is like an 8x5 screen with a 5,000 lumen projector. They're basically the same type of image. They're football matches, soccer matches. And the 15 minutes before, you've got a guy in a white uniform, and you can't hardly see the people in red. Even at sundown, you see how washed out that image is. But then you get to that final one, that 15 minutes after sundown, and what a difference, right? Such a difference. It's so worth the wait. All right.
Yeah, I think if you're a customer and you're anticipating the activities to start, you're wanting the movie to start, but it's not quite dark enough. This is echoing what Todd said, but we have high definition speakers that are excellent for music, or we also have microphones as well. So if you're wanting to make some sort of announcements, there's always movie trivia. You could try to ask your guests beforehand. So there are options to make it fun before the movie starts.
And unfortunately, I know what it is, what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the movie to end before 9:30, 10 p.m. That's typically what's going on. So pick a shorter movie then. Pick a movie that's an hour and a half, an hour and 20, an hour and 10. Don't pick Sound of Music 4 hours. Expect to start it at 7:30, an hour before sunset.
So I work with a lot of parks and recs, and what you just said is so true. So they'll have their list of movies they're going to play over the year, and we'll get to July, and they'll choose like a long Marvel movie in the middle of July. And like you realize you're going to be ending after 11 o'clock. And I'll look at the movies, and then later on in the season, they'll have a like short 90-minute animated. And I'm like, flip them. Look for the longer times of the year when you get into the end of August, September, you've got these, it gets dark much earlier. Show the longer movie then. But that middle of the summer, you choose those animated, which are nice and bright. Choose an animated movie that's slightly shorter in length. And then you're going to be beating the noise ordinances, which is sometimes an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting it in just in time, which is huge. So another thing, and you may see this, Matt, with where you are, because you have multiple territories in different areas, that an area that's further south, you can start the movies earlier than an area that's further north. See that in your areas?
Yeah, totally. Depending on the time of year as well. Oh my gosh, the people up in Idaho and Boise, they're hunkered down for the winter. They get so snowy up there. They're not doing anything in the wintertime. But when it's summertime, the sun's not setting up there sometimes until after 9. But they're diehard movie fans. They'll be out there watching a movie, starting that movie at 10 o'clock, and they'll be up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning watching double features because they're just excited to be outside during the summer. And then, we have like our Florida territories where right now it's game on, it's beautiful weather, and the sun's setting at a relatively decent time. So we're watching movies all winter long, but it's 65, 70 degrees out this time of year there.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
So when to start your outdoor movie was your question.
Yes. Yeah.
Does everyone still use sunset.com?
Yeah. The booking software that we use works it out for us. So if you're trying to book, it'll actually let you know that's before sunset, which is so helpful. Yeah.
Yes. Customers at home, you can go to sunrisesunset.com, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you when sunset is. And that's your goal.
Yeah. And if you're doing a backyard around sunset, will work. But if you are looking at a Parks and Rec and you're using a bigger screen, you're going to be wanting to wait that 10, 15 minutes after sunset. While you've got the screen up, once the projector's focused, you could have a PowerPoint with high contrast slides, maybe with some movie trivia, but you do not want to be starting your movie earlier. And another real quick thing on movies, let's think about movies that show really well. Will a modern Batman movie show on your screen? No.
Yeah.
And
you're looking for stuff that's bright. You're looking for animated movies that are bright. You can often start them closer to sunset. If you're watching a live action movie, look at the first 10 minutes of that movie. If it's all shot in a really dark area, you've got two choices. One of them is find another movie. The other one is you need to push that movie start time back even further.
Right.
So I think that's it. So you're projecting, we want to wait 10 to 15 minutes after sunset. But if you've got an LED, do we have to wait?
Nope.
Nope.
All righty-o. I guess that's it for this week. Until next time, everybody.
Same bat time. Same bat channel.
Let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies for an outdoor movie treat.